Welcome to today's masterclass called the Business Growth Fast Lane. And in this masterclass, it's about 40 minutes. You're going to learn a whole lot about a story to sales framework that's going to help you elevate your business. And you're going to be able to take action today on the things that you're going to learn in this masterclass. And also, please stay till the end because I do have a very special gift that I want to offer you. First, just a couple of things about me. I am a story to sales business growth. I've got 35 years of corporate leadership experience with multiple fantastic companies, 10 years in marketing and sales, 20 years in leadership coaching. I'm a global keynote speaker and an international best-selling author. But I have to tell you, the thing that I love the most is being able to help female small business owners and coaches grow their business the way I grew my business through the power of story sharing. I went from zero to six figures in 13 months doing what I teach my clients how to do. And so the reason that my clients have so much success, and the same reason I had so much success, is because I've been able to put together something very unique in the marketplace. It is a story to sales program that combines story sharing plus brand messaging plus business strategy so that you can succeed and do it fast, hence the fast lane. And so today, I am going to show you why story sharing is your business growth fast lane to help you get noticed, gain clients, grow faster. And of course, all of that equals a larger pipeline and more sales. But first, I want to ask you this quick question. What do you think is the biggest cost in your business right now? Is it lead generation? Is it taxes? Is it marketing and sales? Whatever your answer is, I want to propose to you that actually your biggest expense is the cost of being invisible, which means missed sales, missed opportunities, and ultimately being stuck in the slow lane. Because, guys, here is the ugly truth. No matter how great your product or service is, if you do not have professional story sharing walking alongside you, kind of like a superhero, the market is going to see you as just a boring commodity. And not only that, but your ideal client is going to choose the competition. You're going to start to compete on price, which is basically a race to the bottom. And your growth is going to be slow and frustrating. You're going to be in the slow lane. But here's the beautiful truth. With professional story sharing, with a professional story to sales framework, now you're going to be able to elevate above that noisy competition, gain the memorable attention that you deserve, and overcome the objections that your clients have with ease. Because look, they're walking around with objections in their brain that they're not going to say to you, but your story is the thing that's going to be able to overcome those. And not only so, but with story sharing, now you're going to attract your ideal client rather than feeling like you're chasing them. No one wants to be chased. You don't like it. I don't like it. Well, your ideal client doesn't like it either. And with story sharing, you don't have to worry about that because you're going to attract them with ease. You're going to inspire them to want to take action with you. And most importantly, you're going to become unforgettable. So, a question I get a lot is, Tawana, what exactly is story sharing? Well, we know from the research that it is a fast lane strategy that's going to help others consider what's possible for them. It positions you as a trusted expert in their mind, and it allows you to connect and convert with ease. And so, if a picture paints 1,000 words, I want you to think of this. This is what your professional story sharing does. A professional story to sales framework will help you build this beautiful bridge you see here that's going to connect you with your ideal client. And so, another question I get is, why is story sharing a fast lane? And here's why. We know from the research, this is market research, that 68% of consumers say that stories influence their purchasing decision. So you have to be asking yourself, wow, if I am not incorporating a professional story to sales framework in my business right now, I am leaving a lot of money on the table. But we also know from the research that story sharing is the thing that makes you top of mind because 55% of consumers say they remember stories more than lists and facts and stats. You've heard that adage that stories sell, but facts tell, and the market research backs it up. But we also know that our brains, this is the brain science behind it. We also know that our brains are 22 times more likely to remember a story. And because stories activate all parts of the brain. So you have to be thinking that when you are doing professional story sharing in your marketing, in your branding, and all the other things about your business, you really are helping your client connect with you in multiple ways. We also know from the research that story sharing builds loyalty. When I was in corporate America, we always had this score we took every year called the Net Promoter Score. Basically, it was asking who of our customers would recommend us to their network. You have to think of story sharing as increasing your Net Promoter Score as well. So it's going to take the loyalty and client retention rate in a tectonic type of move. If you can go from 5 to 10% up to 65 to 70% and do it with ease, this is something you really need to be paying attention to. But the other thing I really love to share with wonderful people like you is that we are in a trust recession. Now, I do not hear other people talking about this, but it is in fact the truth. Because of AI and because of the bombardment of AI right now in every facet of life, because of fake news, because of the lack of meaningful connection, people don't know what they can trust. They don't know who they can trust. They don't know what's real and what isn't. So you have to be thinking about it like this. If you engage in professional story sharing and you begin to do this now, you are basically doing the equivalent of buying at the bottom before the market bounces back. There's going to be a turning point when a lot of business owners realize that this onslaught of AI slush, so to speak, is really turning people off. We're not there yet, but we're going to be there soon. People want to know what's real. They want to know what they can trust. If you have already built a portfolio of story sharing that's authentic and real and relatable, you're going to be way ahead of the curve. When the masses make a quick turn and start trying to doing the same thing, you're going to be ahead of the game. So you need to be thinking about now, do I want to buy in at the bottom right before it starts to take off? So for instance, if you were able to buy Intel when it was, $5, $10, how wealthy would you be right now? You need to think about story sharing in that exact same way because story sharing is the thing that's going to build trust. It builds it faster. So let's talk about some effective story sharing styles. First one is informational. So you may have seen this before if you're at a presentation on investments or real estate or things like that. People will stand up and they'll just talk about the stats, the facts, and knowledge. There's no emotion in it. It's just all about give me the data. That's one style. Another style is called inspirational. And I love this because, we build wonderful communities when we do fundraising and we inspire people to take action and do things to volunteer, help support a cause. But what you really want to be aiming for is what's called the transformational story sharing style. And the reason is because this is what's going to make other people want to take action with you as opposed to someone else. And so you're going to be inspiring them to take action. And it is, in fact, the most memorable. So here's my question. What is your current story sharing style now? Are you more informational? You're popping the hood. You're really talking about all the bells and whistles and the facts and the features about what you offer and what you do? Or are you trying to just inspire someone to take action with you or inspire someone to get involved with you? Or are you really showing them through a story how you can help them experience a transformation? Again, there's no judgment. This is really just for you to think about what is your current story sharing style, because what you want to do is you want to aim for transformation. I want to give you an example a couple of examples of some people who have done this extraordinarily well. And the first person is Jamie Kern-Lima. You may recognize her. She was the founder of It Cosmetics. Well, she wasn't always in the cosmetic industry. If you've read her book, you know her story. She was actually in the broadcast business. She basically went from a broadcaster in a small town in California that no one knew about to a billionaire. And she did it with her story because she was able to finally launch her product on QVC. She told her story on live television, and it helped her sell out of her products in a matter of hours. And QVC had her back on that program 1,000 times. Well, eventually, this person who no one knew from Northern California sold her business to L'Oreal for $1.2 billion. But the thing I want you to remember here is that it started from a story. The other example that I really love is this gentleman. His name is Steve Wood. He's the founder of Forwood Safety. Now, you may not have heard about him. His business is located in Australia. He started his business based on a workplace accident he had when he was 19 years old. He lost the tips of three of his fingers on a rig, kind of a drilling type of rig. And while he was recovering, he said, I really do believe that people should be able to come home from work safe and alive. What if I start a company that's going to help other companies make sure they are workplace safety ready? And so here we are 30 years later, and he is in 60 countries, but this all began from a story from the outback to out front, and his company is doing amazing things from a story. The other one that I love to share is this Madam C.J. Walker. This woman lived in the early 1900s in a time when women couldn't even vote. And this woman especially had some difficulties or some headwinds that were probably meant to impede her. However, she went from marginalized to millionaire, and the way she did it was through the power of her story. She made a wonderful product that helped women with hair loss. She literally went door to door telling her story, and she became one of America's first self-made female billionaires, but it started from a story. And please stay till the end so you don't miss out on this wonderful free gift I have to offer you. And next, I want to share just a couple of the frustrations that I see happening to smart business women that actually keep them in the slow lane. And the first one is being ignored. And it's because no one is connecting with what they're saying. A minute ago, we said facts tell, but stories sell. That's exactly what was happening with my client, Joyce. She's a financial advisor. She lives in Canada. And when I met Joyce, smart lady, very smart lady, she was struggling in her business, and she wasn't getting the kind of traction, and she certainly wasn't getting the type of funnel that she was hoping to have. And when we put together a story about some money trauma she had experienced, we were also able to hyper niche and find the perfect market for her to talk to. Her sales went through the roof. She went from basically very small sales to top 10 in her company, and she did it in a matter of weeks. But it's because we were able to help her find a story that helped her stop being ignored. And women literally were lined up to book time on her calendar to join her in her business and help get benefit from what she had to offer. The second frustration that I see happening with a lot of very smart business women is that they have something called message disconnect. In other words, their message is very vague and it actually creates disconnection. And that's exactly what was happening with my client, Diane. This woman had a fantastic product. She'd gotten fantastic results, not only for herself, but for her family members. The problem is she didn't know how to communicate it. She was speaking in a way that people didn't understand what she was saying. It was very vague, kind of like industry speak, so to speak. And she wasn't talking to her ideal client either. And after working together with me for just a very short period of time, her business turned around. And every time she would show up on the group calls, she would literally be in tears because she was so excited about the people that wanted to do business with her, the high quality, high value, high ticket, so to speak, clients. And her business literally skyrocketed. And that happened in just a matter of weeks. The third frustration that I see happening with a lot of smart business women is they have a lack of confidence. But when you don't have clarity, you don't have confidence. A lack of clarity creates uncertainty. And that's what was happening with my client, Barbara. She has a great product. She represents a fantastic company, but she just didn't have the clarity of her message, and she didn't have the confidence she really wanted to have in order to share it. But after we worked together for a couple of months, everything turned around for her. And she was really able to get out there, talk about her product, talk about her business, deliver it in a way that made her message memorable and clear for her audience. And I watched this lady transform into a super confident woman through the power of strategic story sharing. And it was the same for Diane and Joyce. So, my question is, what would you like to change? Is it being ignored? Are you not really connecting with people the way you want to? Do you feel like your message is vague? You know you have a great product, but you're just really not sure how to communicate it? Or do you possibly maybe have a lack of confidence, meaning that you're not sure how you should say it, what you should share, what your story really is? And so that's kind of making you shrink back and you don't really step out there into all the different opportunities you could have. No judgment. Again, like I said, this is for us to learn, elevate, and take action. So just think about what would you like to improve? And it could be all three. Well, here's the good news. We can fix it and we can fix it fast through strategic story sharing because the framework that I take all of my clients through helps them close the gap. One of my favorite sayings is, let's just close the gap. And the way we do it with story sharing happens really fast and it's super effective. So, next, let's talk about the top three questions that I get about story to sales coaching. And the first one is, Tawana, I'm just not sure that story sharing is really going to work for my business. Does it only work for certain types of industries, certain types of people? In other words, does it only work for certain types of products or services or industries? Well, here's the truth. I work with people in 6 countries across multiple different industries. In fact, I do not have the space to list all the industries that I've worked with people in. The takeaway is that it doesn't matter where you live or what you do. A professional story to sales framework is going to help you grow your business and put you in the fast lane. That's what I was able to do with Tora. Tora is a licensed mental health therapist. And when she came to me, she wanted to start her own business. She was with a larger practice. And when she implemented the things that I took her through and taught her through my framework, she was already booking high ticket clients into her new business before she ever opened the door. So you can just imagine how that made her feel to know that she was not stepping out on a cloud, but she was actually stepping out into her new business with people already saying yes. And it's because she implemented exactly what I taught her and did it exactly the way I showed her how to do. But I also think about Gary. He's a wealth advisor and he has a great product, a wonderful person. And he really had, a desire to help people that didn't feel like that they could be wealthy to become that way. And so we put together a wonderful story that he had never shared in his whole life. It was so beautiful. And what was great about his story is that it really helped people realize that he was a real human being that had deep concern for their well being and that they could trust him because he understood where they were. And remember, I told you earlier that you want to talk about transformation, right? He showed them how they could transform their finances by working with him. So the next question I get is, Tawana, I'm just not a natural storyteller. What if I don't have an interesting story? That is exactly what Ashley said to me. In fact, because she is a Mary Kay director, she was like so many people focused a little bit too heavily on telling Mary Kay's story. In other words, they were telling the founder story. But there's 2.5 million Mary Kay advisors in the United States alone. What's going to make someone pick Ashley? What's going to make someone pick another person who's in Mary Kay? It's their story. People want to know her story. How can she help them create a better life, create multiple streams of income, etc.? And so the story we were able to create was so beautiful and so dynamic. In fact, she got on stage at one of the events, one of the Mary Kay events, and shared her story. And it was quite remarkable. Because of it, she has been able to achieve great things in her business. But I also think about Colleen. Now, Colleen has a company that she helps people build their funnels and manage their business. She has an agency that she works with, Go High Level. That seems kind of boring, I know, but the truth is her story is dynamic. And we were able to put that together so she could show other business people, especially women, how they can uh, reduce the stress in their business because they know that Colleen can relate to them. And Colleen's story was quite dynamic. She told me that in 2025, she spent $40,000 growing her business. And she said, Tawana, the money I spent with you and your coaching program was by far the best investment I made in my business. So okay, so the next common question I get is how do I know exactly which story to share? Like, I don't want to create conflict with friends or family or previous employers, et cetera, et cetera. And I understand that completely. And that was one of the questions that Kenny had when he came to me. I love this story about Kenny. He has a mixed martial arts business in New Jersey, and his studio caters to children with disability. Well, Kenny has a disability, and he had a story that had a lot of pain in it, a lot of trauma in it. But we didn't talk about that part. What we focused on was the transformation that happens when parents uh, allow their children to work with him. Someone heard his story. They came to him and said, Hey, I want to make a documentary of your story. And now it's out there. You can just imagine what that has done for his notoriety and his business. He travels all over the country now sharing his incredible story. But we focused on transformation, not trauma. We focused on building bridges and not tearing down bridges or burning bridges. And that's exactly the same thing that we did with Veronique. She built this amazing, great product in the midst of a very difficult struggle in her life. And yet we were able to talk about that in a way that positioned her product in a beautiful way to make her way more competitive and draw people into her world and actually want to purchase her product, not only because it's great and beautiful, but because they really, really love her story. So the other thing I want you to think about is story sharing also allows you to create a legacy. I have yet to meet a businesswoman who does not want to leave a legacy, whether it's for her family or for her community. And that's exactly what happened with Candace Lightner. You may be familiar with her story. She is the founder of Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. And her story, the reason this whole nonprofit came to be is because of her story of her 13-year-old daughter who was killed by a drunk driver in a hit and run accident in 1980. And she turned her daughter's bedroom into an office. And that is where she launched Mothers Against Drunk Drivers. And now, 45 years later, this nonprofit has made significant impact in legislation, not only in America, but in other countries. But her, again, this phenomenal legacy builder, this all came about because of a story. And so, all of these people were legacy builders. Each one of them were fast lane legacy builders. My clients are fast lane legacy builders, and I don't have enough room to put all of their pictures on here. But here is my question. Why not you? You can be in the fast lane not only to grow your business, but you can be a fast lane legacy builder. So here's the thing I want to leave you with. You really are only one story away, and maybe you've never thought about it like that, but you are one story away from attracting your dream clients without chasing them, one story from growing your business with confidence and clarity, one story away from enjoying predictable income, and one story away from being in the business growth fast lane, because story sharing, A professional story to sales framework is the business growth fast lane to get noticed, gain clients, grow faster, and as we said earlier, to attract more sales. And so I just want to say that the fast lane just got a whole lot easier for you because I want to offer you this incredible free gift. I want to give you a story wealth strategy call that I typically charge $350 for, but I want to give it to you absolutely at no charge. So all you have to do is scan that QR code and book your appointment. But I want you to do it by July 15th because I do have limited space and I want to make sure that I give you priority. So scan that QR code. I will also leave a link in the notes so that you can grab some time on my calendar. And not only are you going to get the strategy call at no cost, but you're also going to qualify for some very big discounts on my story sharing program. But again, you must book by July 15th because I do have limited space. So scan the QR code or grab the link to the calendar in the show notes. And here's the thing again, the reason that my program is so effective, the reason that it is a fast lane approach to business growth is because of the way I've put this framework together story sharing plus brand messaging plus business strategy. The end of 2026 is going to happen one way or the other. The only question is, which lane are you going to finish in? I want you to finish in the fast lane. In other words, it's time to exit the slow lane. Stop paying the cost of being invisible. Stop paying the cost of the vague messaging and the empty funnels. Stop paying the cost of being in the slow lane. Book the call, scan the QR code, or grab the link, book some time on my calendar. I really look forward to meeting you soon. Thank you so much for your time. God bless you.